All right, now it's just a matter of waiting for the attendees to show up and get started about 5 after the time frame. Hello all, we are just waiting till about 5 after 11 so that we'll get started at that, I'm sorry, 5 minutes after 11:30, so about 11:35 we'll start going through the presentation. Go to question panel. Okay. Anything yet? Oh, no. Okay. Hey, Dwayne, can you hear me? Okay. Let's see here. Hey, Aaron, can you guys hear me? Or Amy?
Yeah, this is Amy. I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, so people are putting questions out there and I'm trying to read them and it looks like some people can't hear me. So let's see what we got going on here. Thank you for letting me know. Hi, Aaron, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out here. I can. Oh, the messaging because I didn't have you muted. I'm like, okay, a bunch of people popped in for notes, but good. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, wonderful. Aaron, I'm going to mute you again because I unmuted you so you could talk to me.
Retta, this is Dwayne. You can open your chat window too, and I'm chatting with you.
Oh, alrighty. You realize I can only read one thing at a time.
Oh, come on.
Allison. Okay, so Allison looks like she's back on. It looks like she wasn't dialed in perhaps.
Looks like some of the people are self-muted too, so.
I think we muted by design when they came on. It says attendee is muted by organizer, so I think we had that set up that way, which was the preferred method, which is okay. Excellent. Ah, right. So I'm going to ask you, Dwayne, would you have them have the question where they can type in a question, go to question pane, or would you rather have them talk in the chat section if they have questions? Pardon me?
Questions.
Go to the questions page where this is where they should ask the questions? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay. Looks like good time. So I am going to get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the J.Geiger presentation on why to get an IIBA certification and what the different certifications are and who should be getting which ones. I will begin. Oh, here we go. My name is Retta Witter. I've been doing this job for about 20 plus years. I met Jeff, my first job out of college back in the late 1990s. So I've known Jeff for about 21 years. I've been working with Jeff at J.Geiger Consulting since April of 2019, but we did just celebrate our 15-year anniversary of the J.Geiger Consulting Company. I have a business degree in MIS, or Management Information System, from UW-Oshkosh. I also have my MBA from UW-Oshkosh, and my focus was on international studies. I am a member of the Bluegrass IIBA chapter out of Lexington, Kentucky. I know it's not where I am, which is in Northeast Wisconsin. However, it was the chapter that I found met my needs the best. So J.Geiger is a boutique consulting firm. We have 4 core competencies around ERP consulting, project delivery, custom development, and then talent services. So we can do backfill and help with a lot of different staffing needs. So first off, some of you may or may not know what IIBA is. It's the Institute of Business Analysis. It's our International Institute of Business Analysis. It's headquartered out of Ontario, Canada, and it was founded in 2003. It's very similar to what you may be familiar with the PMI for project management, but they have written a guidebook to help standardize what business analysis is. And with that, it's really to help build those people who do business analysis as a career. So I want to talk a little bit about why I'm on this journey. A big part is to build my skills. I have been doing this for 20 plus years. However, every company does a little bit different. So having some of that standard vernacular and understanding the best practices. And when I'm with me being a consultant, I do go into a lot of different companies that have different maturity levels for their IT departments or their BA staff or whoever does the BA work. So I really wanted to make sure I was giving the best product to my customer, but I really needed to build my toolbox, and I wanted to build it so that I could help with that. Taking the classes and going through these webinars and such that I have been doing, it's really good for building your confidence, because it really does help you know that what you're saying is true and accurate. It's also going to expand some of the opportunities for me down the road, as well as J.Geiger Consulting, because we do help in a variety of different sized IT shops. So some of that flexibility that it'll give me for Jeff, but also for my future needs. Why might you want to do this journey? Excuse me. A big thing is as I'm going through the class and have been studying for my certification, common terminology is key. And I'm sure many of you have run into this as you're going through your day-to-day job, what you mean by a requirement, or what is a requirement, or what is the correct stage that you're in. People have different terminologies. Going through this, having a unified definition of what that terminology is key. It also helps with connecting and just having a good base comprehension of your work. It'll increase your marketability and your opportunities. It should also improve your team performance. As you know, communication is always key. So in any kind of project, if you're willing to build your skill set, you're going to be a lot more versatile as well. So as new opportunities come up for you in your career, you have the skill set or the base knowledge that you need to help progress. So I'm going to ask you, if you have questions, please pop them in the question pane, and Dwayne, my lovely assistant, will be able to help us with any kind of questions that you have, and he'll insert them when the best time is to talk about them. So the next big thing is, what is business analysis? It's not a title. It's really more about what is your skills that you're using. I've been doing this, like I said, for many years. Over the years, I've had to use the business analysis skills, but I've had job titles anywhere from systems analyst to system lead, or just straight up analyst, or the order to cash analyst. I've done project management work, but the skill set is the skill set that we need to help go across the board. I'm going to mute some people who magically got unmuted so we don't have some of the background feedback. Okay. So how to get involved? The first thing is membership. As I stated, I'm a member of the IIBA chapter out of the Bluegrass, Kentucky area. Or sorry, it's a Bluegrass chapter out of Lexington, Kentucky. But there are chapters in this area. There's one in Northeast Wisconsin, which is out of Appleton, and that's what the NEW stands for. There's one in Southeast Wisconsin out of the Wauwatosa area. And then there's the Greater Madison chapter. There's also a national chapter that you become a member of. I highly recommend taking a look at doing this, but with so much being virtual now with the COVID, and even before that, the Bluegrass chapter has really been doing a lot with flexibility for its members or for the business analyst community. But take a look. There's a lot of opportunity. You don't have to pick the local chapter if it doesn't meet your goals and your needs for your career. So take a look at them. Take a look to see whether they're virtual or where the location is, how active they are. Every chapter, as you know, is run by volunteers, and it's really just a matter of what input that they have. I've gotten the opportunity to do information now with an East Iowa chapter, a Vermont chapter. The Bluegrass one is obviously the one I've chosen to be a member of because of the types of seminars and the opportunities that they've given us, or me. But there's a lot of opportunities for you to grow and connect with your peers. And even if you don't get the certifications, being connected with your community, you can really grow still, which is a wonderful opportunity for us. So there are 4 steps to certification. I shouldn't say steps. There are 4 key steps to figuring out your certification. One is choose your certification that you're interested in, learn about the exam. You begin preparing for your exam, and then you register and take your certification exam. I have not taken mine yet. I'm planning to take it mid-October at this point in time based on some feedback from the study group I just finished. One of the things that with all of my information, with the way we've done the study sessions and the practice tests, it reminds me a lot, and I hate to say this, of like taking your ACTs or your SATs. It's a very formalized process, and a lot of the questions take time to comprehend and to do and answer correctly. So if you're going to take a certification test, I'd highly recommend doing a side-by-side chat with anybody who might be hosting one. You'll get a much better idea of what that exact exam is like. So the next part, there are several parts to each of the certifications. There's a membership. It's not required, but there are benefits to being members, and a reduction of costs for taking the tests are one of them. There are what they call personal development hours. There's a lot of, they want to make sure that you're trained correctly in the way that the IIBA talks about the processes, and in order to keep their certifications the quality that they are, they need to make sure that you are keeping up on the current trends. So your work experience. There is certain certifications that do have work experience. There's a very specific time period that you're allowed to have that work experience in. A lot of it depends on which certification you're going after, because obviously the more advanced certification, you need more hours. So they give you a broader time frame to do it. And then there's, you have to have hours in specific knowledge areas. The standard core competencies for your certifications, there are 6 knowledge base areas that you will have to have certain hours for each, a percentage. And we'll go over that when we talk about each one of them. There's references that may be needed. You have to pass your exam. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but passing the exam is key. There are fees to taking the exam and going through the application process. You then have to submit an application as well, and this can be audited. Being a business analyst, paying attention to and being a part of your documentation, it will be key. So just be aware that that can happen. In the webinars I've been to, there was only one woman that I knew that said she was audited, but because she had everything documented well, it was a little scary for a little bit, but she had all of her ducks in a row. So she was good to go after, I think it just added a couple days to the process. Now we're going to start talking about the different certifications. Dwayne, do we have any questions yet that we should talk about?
Yes, Aaron Wittenberger asks, can you take the IIBA certification exams online?
Yes, you can. You can do them online. It's become more prevalent with the COVID situation right now, but you can also do them. I will probably be taking mine at UW-Oshkosh, which is a core testing center near me. But yes, you can do them online. It's my understanding from what I was taught that they watch you on a camera the entire time. They will make you look around your room to make sure that you don't have notes anywhere, or that you're following what you would be as if you were in actually a testing center. And again, like I said, it's kind of like your ACTs. You're there, you get a piece of paper, or there's limitations on what you can bring in order to do your work. So any other ones, Dwayne?
You may continue, not right now.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so there are 6 certifications. 3 of them are core. There's the entry certification, entry certificate of a business analyst, also known as ECBA. There's certification of capabilities in a business analysis, and then the certified business analysis professional. That is the one I'm studying for. Then there are 3 specialized business analysis certifications. You've got your cybersecurity, your Agile analysis, and your data analytics. I've got some really interesting facts I was able to pull off the IIBA website in regards to some of the certifications and the value that it brings to you and your career. Okay, so the entry level certification is really designed for people who don't have any true work experience. So maybe a year or 2 in the business world, also, or perhaps if you're getting ready to graduate, like my college has an MIS degree or Management Information Systems. Had this been around when I graduated with that, I probably would have been looking to get that before I actually graduated, or part of that right after I graduated, because a lot of HR departments like that kind of certification, or that knowing that you have a certain knowledge base type thing. It's also a really good one designed for managers of business analysts. It helps you understand what the skill set should be doing and how to go about doing it. This is one that does not require any professional hours, but it does require your classes or your professional development units. It needs 21 of those hours. It is a 50 question multiple choice, and you have an hour to take that one. The next level up is designed for people who've been doing business analysis for 2 to 3 years. You will have to have 21 hours professional development in a 4-year time period, very similar to what you're seeing with the entry level certification. However, this one does require specific hours. There, like I said earlier, there are 6 knowledge base areas in the business analysis testing. You can have 900 hours in 2 of the 6, or 500 in 4 of the 6, depending on how it works out for you. But those are the minimum requirements of hours. You also have to pass the 130 multiple choice. This one does add in some scenario-based questions, and you do have a 3-hour time limit for those 130 questions. Now, so the CBAP, the one I'm looking to study for, is for anybody who's been doing it more than 3 years. Big part of that is you can't have the hours they require in 3 years. It's not practical. You need 7,500 hours of BA work in 10 years. You have to have a minimum of 904 of the 6 knowledge areas. Now, there are 35 professional development units that are needed. Had I chosen to do this closer to finishing my MBA, I might not have had to take some of the classes I did to get the PDs, professional development units, simply because I'm too far away from it. But I did do a lot of analysis classes with my MBA that may have qualified for it. So if you are either close to just finishing up a type of degree, you may want to look in to see whether or not those hours will work for you. You do have to pass the test. It's 120 questions in 3.5 hours. But this one is a lot more scenario and case study based. So it's a lot more practical. How do you do this type of a thing? You also need 2 references. This is the only certification that does require references. Those are the 3 core certifications. Is there any questions around those?
I do not have any questions.
Excellent. So now these are some of the auxiliary or the specialized certifications. We're going to go over those next 3. And depending on what part of the business analysis work you do, some of these may fit right into what you're doing. You have the cybersecurity. We all know how important that is, especially with data transfers these days. If you're doing business analysis work, you are going to be transferring data from point A to point B. Sometimes it could be in the cloud. It could be any number of places. So the IIBA joined forces with the IEEE Computer Society to really get this certification together. You have to pass the test. There are 75 multiple choice based questions. You have 90 minutes for it. There are no requirements for experience in this, and there are no professional development requirements for this certification. The Agile Analysis certification, this one is a really hot topic right now. I'm sure many of you in your different, over the last few years and the different jobs that you've done, you will have seen somewhat of a switch depending on your organization from a more of a true waterfall concept into an agile process. Agile being the ability to have a quick turnaround and being flexible to your customers' needs. This certification helps you understand what some of the basic standardization of agile analysis is. An interesting point with this is IIBA does annual surveys every year and salary surveys, and they have posted some of the results. This one I thought was really interesting was because 71% of professionals practice some sort of agile approach. There's a wide variety in what agile is and how you apply it to your business based on your business's needs, but they found that 16%, those that have the certification earn 16% more than those who are doing the job without the certification. So that's an interesting set of numbers depending on which direction your career is taking, but it's definitely useful information to have. So you do have to pass your test. There are 85 multiple choice based scenario questions, and you have 2 hours to pass that one. The next certification. Yes.
I do have a question. Jeff is asking, have you seen sample tests for the non-core certifications, and how do we study or prepare?
We do not. I have not seen the non-core. I have seen the core, but based on what I understand the way IIBA does in the standards of their testings, I would assume that they are similar. I would prepare if I was looking to do this. With your membership of the IIBA, you can get free downloaded PDFs of the books. Some of them may have a fee, like the one with the IEEE with the cybersecurity, because it's a group effort. There may be a fee for buying that book, but you can download all of those, as a lot of these, I should say, as part of your membership in the IIBA, which, like I said, there's a lot of benefits to being a member. So you can download them and you can study that way. There is also a lot of chapters that are doing study sessions. So the Bluegrass one that I am a part of, we just finished up the summer 14-week long study session for the core certifications. Depending on what certification you were looking towards determines what kind of sample tests they sent you when you were doing those study sessions where we were practicing taking the exam. So you can use the books, you can get in a group. There is an Agile side-by-side chat coming up the next couple of weeks, I believe, with the IIBA chapter. I'm doing it. It's just that I don't have the date. It's coming up in a slide. I do know that there is study groups you can be a part of, and your local the chapters that you get involved with may have different study sessions or options for you to join in with. Does that answer your question, or do you have anything more?
Looks like we're good to go.
Okay, great. So the last specialized one that I want to talk about is basically around data analytics. Some interesting facts that I found here that again, the IIBA, and even some information they pulled off of LinkedIn, it talks about your data analytics is one of the highest demand hard skills in the 2020 year timeframe, but 38% of the business professionals or people who do business analyst type work are actually involved in the data analytics area. So it is definitely a skill set if you have that is in demand, and it could definitely help grow your career, but also help the company that you're at to make sure you're doing it the best quality you can. So this test requires 75 multiple choice based questions. You have 2 hours, and again, you have to pass the test. In the lower right hand corner, you can see the 6 knowledge areas that will be tested and the percentage of the test that each will cover. So it's kind of evenly spaced, but you can definitely see that there's very different requirements based on the knowledge areas. So, and these knowledge areas are different than the 6 core ones, or the 6 knowledge areas associated with the core certifications. So the next question that we talked a little bit about in my class, but also in the side-by-side chats to talk about it, was, do you ever have to get recertified? And the answer is maybe. So it depends on which type of certification is. If it's considered just a certificate, which you can see listed here, there is no recertification. However, if it is considered a professional certification, you do have to recertify. With that, one of the comments I made earlier was we talked a lot about you need to make sure you're keeping up with what the current standards are. So you do have what they call continued development units, or CDUs, that you will be required to do so that you can then make sure you're current in what the standards are according to the IIBA. And so the core certifications, the 2 that do get recertified, they are available, or you're certified for 3 years. Then you have to get recertified. You do have a year grace period. So what I'm going to recommend, and what I'm probably going to be doing myself, is once I get my certification, I will continue to go to these different events and build my skill sets for those continuing development units, and then document them on a regular basis. I don't want to have to do it in 3 years and remember all the seminars I've gone to, or the business analyst seminars. Like there's one coming up that's an all-day event with different topics being talked about with some really amazing speakers. That type of stuff I don't want to have to remember in 3 years, so I would probably document them along the way. The specialized certifications only last for a year, and you only have 4 months then for a grace period, but they too also required continuing development units. Processes change at a very rapid pace these days, so making sure you understand what the current standards are is key. So one of the tips that I got when I was going through the process of how do I do this? How do I get certified? How do I figure out all the requirements? One of the ones that they talked a lot about is make sure when you document your hours, you give yourself at least 10% more than what you need for that certification. And the reason being is if they're going through and they think the way you describe something doesn't quite work, you still have some flexibility. So there is a spreadsheet that I have gotten, and it is part of your handouts. I received this from different areas, so we didn't create it. It was given to me, and I'm sharing it with you. But it shows you a nice formulas and an easy way to document your hours. So let me go to
I
the
have another
spreadsheet.
question.
Oh, please.
Jeff has asked, has the work you put in so far been worthwhile?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right now, I'm on a project that is taking a step back and looking at doing some processes. We got a new CIO. So with that, again, you bring in some new leadership, they take that step back and they usually look at things. What I found to be really interesting is I've never, as a consultant, I usually come in after some of the projects has already started. So a lot of the systems, let me show you here, just a second here. The knowledge base area that's called BA planning and monitoring, a lot of that is already done before I get involved with it as a consultant. Not necessarily in some of my previous careers, but it's really interesting that they're taking a step back and taking a look at what processes we built in place right now. And so I'm understanding a lot more of what the standards are when they're talking about some of those topics. So absolutely. Also, one of the things I found really interesting, I talked a little bit about in my blog, but it has to do with when you are working with your business to find out what their requirements are, everyone is really, you approach them differently. Just like, I'm not going to say they're children, but just like different people you meet or children you deal with on a regular basis, each child engages or has key ways to engage them differently. So I'm finding some of the tips and techniques that I have been studying for my test has really helped me better to read my customers and understand the best way to engage them in a positive environment for both of us. So does that answer your questions? Do you have any more?
Looks like we are good to go.
Okay, wonderful. So this is the spreadsheet that we have that you can get in the download if you wanted to download it and look at it. But this is how I'm documenting my hours of what I've done. When I initially started looking at it, I kind of had them all blocked together in one big chunk. So I was at Kimberly-Clark for 5 years. Putting 5 years in there, I don't know that the people who are going to look at it are going to understand the differences in the different phases of my career there. So I am breaking it down into 3 different areas based on what my title was. As I started looking at this, I found my LinkedIn profile was really good for helping me understand the different stages of what I've done. I've also reached out to my supervisor or the different people I worked with on the projects to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, just so you know, in case you get contacted. But I'm also working with them to make sure I understand what my time card looked like. What was I truly working on at different phases of the project and whatnot. So I am documenting it that way. And then when I go over here to the right, you can see inside the knowledge base, the BABOK, the business analyst body of knowledge. I think I said that right. There are 6 functional areas. I have them broken down here with the title. Again, like I said, the spreadsheet was given to me, but all of the hours are added up. So I can see in each of the functional areas, do I meet the requirement? As I've gone through the study session, I had a better understanding of what fit into each criteria. So that helped a lot for me to know what to fill out in these different sections. So I have got plenty of hours for my being able to sit for the test. I just need to get this built out a little bit better so that the person who does look at my application understands what it was that I was working on. Any questions on the spreadsheet? There is an example on your worksheet, and then there's a template that kind of help you with the spreadsheet, summing it up and all of that type of stuff.
Just for a point of clarification, on the control bar for the webinar, GoToWebinar control panel, there is a section or a drop down called handouts, and you'll find a generic example of this worksheet in there that you can all download.
We don't need you to reinvent the wheel. We want to help you make this as easy as possible. So now, one of the things that when I was looking at what counted as a PDU, there is a lot of rules. So I take a look at the website, but there are certain ones that are already endorsed because the classes or the sections have already been vetted by IIBA. Take a look. I took a class that was that 14-week class that counted for the 35 hours, so I was able to get it done in one felt swoop. The reason I did it that way was it was nice to have it taught to me by certified professionals already, right? They had sat through the tests, they've done a lot of that kind of stuff. And again, they knew how to teach it in a manner that allowed for me to feel like I could pass the test. I'm not quite there yet, which is why when I had the last class, we got to have a one-on-one chat with the certified professionals, and we were able to ask a lot of questions, which was really nice. And the woman that I sat with, she recommended give it a month afterwards at least, because there is a lot of understanding that you're going to have to do for each one of them. Inside of the BABAC, there is 50 techniques that you could use along any one of those. So making sure you understand them and how they're applied. So she gave some really great tips. I am going to hopefully, I finished the class up the end of August, and I'm hoping to sit mid-October just based on my workload and the ability to dedicate the time I need for studying. So take a look at the professional developments. There is some really neat opportunities out there. Here are some of the upcoming events that I was telling you about. The Vancouver one I've seen a lot about. I haven't really had a chance to do much with that group, but they do offer a lot of interesting ones. They just don't necessarily fit in my schedule. Some of them are during the day for you, like a lunch hour like this is, or some of them can be at night as well. You can see here, Bluegrass is doing they're having a business analysis conference coming up, and that is an all-day event. You can do morning, afternoon, or both sessions, but they have some great speakers based on what I'm seeing coming through. Unfortunately, I have something already that day. That's the week I'm looking to study for my test, so that was a little bit busy, but they also have an Agile study group coming up this fall that you may want to look into. You still have time to sign up for that. It is in the evenings on Tuesdays, but you can see there's the Scrum Master, which is part of an Agile concepts that's coming up. There's also a side-by-side chat. If you're looking at doing the Agile, that's September 18th is the day that I'll be sitting through that lunch and learn, where we will get to learn more about what the test is really like and how hard it is. So take a look. There's a lot of wonderful opportunity out there. So I'm going to show you a little something. This is the web page. So when you go to the web page here, I am a member, so I'm going to quick log in. And you can then see what opportunities are available on your dashboard. So when I come down here, select dashboard, this is where I found some of the options. And you can see these even if you're not a member, just by looking at the dashboard and such. So you can go in here. If there's one you're interested in going to, you can click on it and it tells you how to register. It will tell you if there is any, the ones I've been looking at, a lot of the chapters will put out there if there is any PDUs assigned to them. So that is one of the recommendations I make. Go out here, take a look around. You can see all kinds of different opportunities. That spreadsheet that you have, when you go into your certification and logging your hours, once you have it built out in the spreadsheet, filling out this section, which is online, is where you would do it. And then from here, you would submit to do your certification test or to get it approved to then schedule the test. There's some great opportunities in here. Once you have it in the spreadsheet, it translates really nicely in here. So it sounds like I got lucky. They changed the website shortly before I started this process, so it's a lot easier to document my information. So, okay, that is the piece of information I have. Is there any questions or anything else that I can answer? Everybody's so quiet. You guys still can hear me, right?
Yeah, you can certainly raise your hands or you can type in questions and I will make sure that Retta gets them. Retta, you can go and unmute everybody as well so that if anyone does want to speak up, they can do that. I've also done that on my end.
Okay. So are any of you guys members of the IIBA? Have you guys done any of that type of information?
I do
No,
have a
but I have
question.
a question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go
Hi,
ahead.
Allie.
Hey, you mentioned your blog. Can you share that maybe in the chat so we could check that out?
Oh, sure. I'll happily. Yes, I've been doing a blog. So one of the things that one of my instructors talked about was um, teaching it really helps you to get to understand it. So Kathy, it was nice to hear because I had started working through doing it's on the 6 main knowledge base areas. So that's kind of nice. Let me get into the chat here to the entire audience. There you go. So yeah, so the blog, I've got 3 done. I've got 3 more that one will be coming out, I should say, later on this week yet, which is on strategy analysis, which is a pretty cool chapter in my mind, actually. So does
Okay.
anyone else have questions? Or Allie, do you have anything else you want to add?
I do have a couple
One more.
questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Go
Me or
ahead, Allie.
Dwayne? Okay. If you were gonna go, I think as you know, like I've done a lot of BA work without a BA title.
Yep.
Which one of the certifications would you think is the best place to start if you're in that situation?
So knowing you and knowing how long I've known you,
Yeah.
I would think you probably have the skill set for the CBAP.
Okay.
And the reason being is I know you've done a lot in the EDI area. When you're doing EDI, because I spent 5 years in that space, you do a lot of the elicitation and whatnot, but you also engage and you are building out your requirements for what that customer may need. And you're
Yeah.
constantly maintaining those because, as you know, the customers can change their EDI requirements at a drop of a hat, and now you have to make your changes, but you have to keep it documented and up to date and that type of stuff. So knowing you've done this for as long as I have, Allie, I met at one of my first jobs out of college. I think she could do the CBAP. But take a
Okay.
look and start filling out the spreadsheet with your information with what you've done the last 10 years, and that'll be a good gauge on which
Oh,
test to
okay.
sit for.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I do have a couple questions. How much
Okay.
time does it take to study, prepare, and take the exam?
I'm going to be honest, it's going to depend on how well you memorize and retain stuff. So I took the class and we did a lot of studying with it. When we did the class, they recommended you do a couple hours of studying and we got homework that we had to do. It literally was like a real college class, but it was good because it helped us understand. We went through and we used the Watermark book to help study for the BABAC, which then has some great mnemonics to help you study and do that type of stuff. I am focusing on, I've done the 14-week class, I've done all the homework for it. Based on how I did on my tests, which was anywhere from 50% accurate to I think the best I did might have been close to 70. But you learn a lot about how to read the questions properly, and I think that was some of mine. They also gave me some really interesting techniques on how to get through the test in the time that you're allowed. But I'm planning on doing about a month and a half of dedicated testing one night or studying one night a week. And then the week before I take the test, I'm going to actually be doing, you can get free tests for, I think it's a week with the Watermark book, but it depends on how well you learn and how well you retain and how much time you have to dedicate to it. So I know that's a pretty generic one, but my goal was to have it done by the end of the calendar year. But I'm pushing it simply because the longer I wait, I don't want to lose stuff that I learned in the class. Erin, I know you are certified. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I will. It also, depends upon your life situation. If you have small kids at home and cannot dedicate a lot of time to study it, it'll take you a little bit longer. If you don't have that, kids are grown, or you don't have other family responsibilities, you can really immerse yourself in the content and learn it and study it. It can take you a shorter amount of time. So it just really depends upon your life situation and how much priority you put on getting it done soon. You can also ask your significant other, if you do have a lot of life responsibilities and that, ask your significant other, if you take on these responsibilities so I can get this done sooner. And we go on with life and that. And if you do something like that, I'd say when you get your certification, make sure you celebrate with them, make them part of your celebration because they helped you get it.
So just so you guys are aware, Aaron was one of the leaders in my class. He did a lot of the teaching and had a lot of the practical. What I found with the classes, you got a lot of practical recommendations from the leaders who taught it, because they are living it and they've done it, and they are actually teaching classes like this on a regular basis. They're seeing their students come through and how many of them are taking the test and how quickly, as well as how many are passing it. One of the gentlemen that was in my question and answer session the last day brought it up. He was running into problems where he wasn't, not problems, it was taking time to get it approved for his work to pay for the test. So while it was taking that time to do that, he was doing the studying so that when his work did get it signed off and approved, he was good to go. One of the first articles that we were required to read for the class was on setting goals and objectives, right? Setting a timeline so that you have something you're driving towards. As you guys know, when you set a goal, having a time frame with that goal or making a SMART objective is key. So take a look at that too. What, it might be a stretch goal, but what time frame do you think you could take the test, and then tell people so that they know that you're looking to do it? Kind of have your accountability partners. Anything else question-wise, Dwayne?
Looks like Amy has her hand raised. If you have a question, Amy, you can unmute and feel free to ask. Maybe not.
All right, now I'm unmuted. There we go.
go.
We both had to unmute. Retta, is there a time frame in that you have to meet to have the practical hours in, like the work hours?
They
Like,
do
do you have to do it within 10 years or?
They expire, yeah. So depending on what the test is, let me go back and I'll show you. So you can go back 7 years for the CBAP. I'm sorry, the middle level one. And then because, so 7,500 hours, I mean, we work, let's say you work 40 hours a week, right? A lot of times that's not the case, but if you only work 40 hours a week, all 40 hours are not going to be applicable to your knowledge areas. Sometimes it could be staff meetings where you're learning about your HR benefits or whatever, right? But so with that, they do give you some time frame to just to do it in. So 10 years is what you get for 7,500 hours, and 7 years is what you get for the 3,750. And again, that's why, if you look at to do 7,500 hours, you really need at least 3 or more years of experience of BA work to have that, the knowledge bases that you need and the areas that you need built out. When I was filling out my spreadsheet, I found it very interesting as I kind of moved through different jobs, as my hours shifted because I was now doing a different part of the job. Sometimes I was doing more planning, sometimes I was doing just like a lot of assessment. And because one of the jobs I held recently was an assessment BA. I took requests from the business to see what did it look like. So I gathered their requirements, but then I did a lot with the strategy analysis to say, how does this fit into our roadmap? Where should it get prioritized amongst some of the other smaller projects that the IT department may need to do? So that 18 months, I had very different hours in the knowledge area than I did when I became a project analyst, where I was doing the project work in the Agile space, and we were getting the requirements, we were doing the testing, we were updating requirements and test cases as things came through. So you'll see over your career and over the different projects you're doing, how it fits into the different knowledge areas.
Perfect, thanks.
You're welcome. Anyone else have questions?
I do have one more question, actually several questions. How rough was documenting information for history?
It wasn't that bad once. Okay, let me rephrase that. In the beginning, it seemed a bit daunting and overwhelming because you're trying to like, okay, what did I do? What did I do? I went to my LinkedIn and I kind of looked at, because in your LinkedIn, you can see your progression of your job titles and that type of stuff, but it really talked about what kind of projects I worked on. So that helped a ton. The project I'm on now, it was easy enough for me to say, hey, boss, can you have one of our support guys send me the hours that I've worked so I could see how I build them out? And by billing them out, I was able to determine how they fit into which areas as well. So the LinkedIn one, though, was my biggest help because I could break it down by project or by job title. Because like when I went from an order to cash analyst to a business analyst 3, my requirements and my skill sets and what I did changed. So it was documented a bit in LinkedIn. And again, as I was going through the study sessions with Erin and the team, I really did kind of take a look at, okay, I've looked at my hours and what I've done, which ones apply into this area? Because understanding how they map is kind of a key part too.
And one more question, are there statistics on increased pay with core certifications?
Well, if there is, I'm sure the IIBA page has some in here. The core ones, I didn't find anything when I looked at the benefits, but if you go out to the main page here, certifications, oh look, they're having a building business capabilities. Yeah, 2020 disrupted, that totally makes sense. So that's an interesting one, but you can go under here and you can learn more about them. And I know based on some of the information that they were giving you or that I was able to look at before, it's on the website somewhere, I'm sure. I have just not looked them all up yet. But so since we're kind of talking about the core certifications, here's the beginner one. It tells you when you link here all what the key parts are, but here's where you can download the handbook that you're going to want to use and that type of stuff. So there's a lot of information on the website itself. But I don't know what those stats are. Erin, do you know what any of those stats might be?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
If you get a core certification, are there any stats on how it increases your salary or your ability to be marketable or anything along those lines?
That would come in the annual IIPA survey,
Okay.
salary survey. And like you mentioned before, the AAC showed that people get paid 16% higher. They got a similar one in there for the core. And I think each one, there is a number for CBAP, and it's relatively, like the 16%. I'm not sure it's 16, 11, or 19, somewhere in there. Each one does say that a certified person does get paid higher. And of course, that is up to your organization, that is actually paying you as to whether they recognize it and will pay you higher. But in general, yeah, a certified individual gets paid a little bit more than what an uncertified person.
Thank you. One of the things that I also noticed was that when you are looking to apply, whether it be your consulting firm is submitting you for some opportunities or you're looking to apply for new opportunities, a lot of the HR departments do like to see the certifications on there. So that will also help you to get past some of the initial gates for interviewing. And that is why I recommend if you're a young BA or getting close to graduating from college or anything like that, do the ECBA, because if you're looking at people who just all graduated, their skill sets are going to be minimal, but with that certification, that may help you get through, again, that gatekeeper to get you past HR and into the area that you're looking to do the work. So lots of opportunities.
Greta, because you think from the company's standpoint, if they list a new a BA1 position or something available, and they get 50 applications for that. 2 of them have the ECBA, and you're one of them. there might be 48 that go into file 13 and only those 2 considered. So, it is a way to set yourself apart from the crowd.
Yes, as will some of the other certifications based on that. I just remember I was mentoring a young lady recently who she had an HR degree, but she was also I think she had a dual major from Oshkosh. With that, she was having a hard time getting past some of those initial stage gates because I want to think her goal was to be like an HR business partner. So she's like the liaison between HR and the IT world. So with that, I recommend getting the certification for the ECBA. Obviously, had never taken it, so I didn't know a lot about what was needed for it. But with her HR work, she's like, oh yeah, when we do that, we do take a look at those kind of certifications and whatnot to help build some of they should have the base knowledge we're looking for. And it did give them an edge. I don't know if she actually ever finished getting the test or not, or if she actually ended up getting the job, so she was busy doing the job and didn't do the certification, but there was some interesting conversations around that one. Or if you're looking to get into management, I know people who are like database administrator managers who don't live in the database space. They're good managers and they're good people resource managers. But if you had the ability to get the analysis, the ECBA, you would understand what your people would need to do a bit more than if you were just managing them and didn't have that knowledge in the space. So that was an interesting bring up in our training sessions that they talked about that. So that was good. But any other questions?
I have no further questions and no raised hands at this time.
Excellent. So we do have 7 minutes left. Aaron, you've been a great mentor to me on this journey. Is there anything that I missed that you think we should have brought up?
No, nothing at mine. So
Okay.
I do really appreciate you, those few plugs for our conference and our fall Agile analysis study group that will begin at the end of the month. So appreciate that. Appreciate you part of our study group.
So I'm going to talk a little bit, I guess, since Aaron brought it up. I am part of the Bluegrass chapter. I had been part of IIBA along the way a couple different times, and the Northeast Wisconsin chapter didn't have what I needed. Nothing against the group, don't get me wrong, it's a good group. It still does brings in some great speakers and that type of stuff. But the ability to find a group that met my needs was really key. And I will happily plug any group that gives you the opportunity to grow the way you want to. So take a look, find one that fits you. Okay. Dwayne and or Jeff, is there anything you would, you know what? This last part here, we will be sending you a survey after this webinar. Give us some feedback. Let me know how I did. I know I can talk a little fast at times, but let me know how we can improve these. Also, if you're interested in learning more about the blogs or future webinars, let us know so we can get any of that out. Dwayne, when I close this, it should submit them the email for that. Is that correct?
That is correct. It might not come right away, but within the next hour or so, you should be getting an email with a link to a survey. And I've got several comments from people. Excellent webinar. Big thank you to Retta. Great information. Well done.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the feedback. I was worried that I was going to squeak because when I get nervous, I squeak. So, okay. Pardon me?
Can't believe you said that.
Hey, we're open and honest here, right? But I was really proud I didn't squeak. So if you guys need anything, have any questions, connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with our company. We'll be offering more webinars coming up, sometimes in business analyst areas, sometimes in other areas. So, okay.
One last thing, this also has been recorded, so we will make available to everybody a recording of this as well.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks. Okay, well, thanks, guys. You guys have a great day. Enjoy your Wednesday. It's rainy and dreary up here, but hopefully you guys have a little better weather.